satellites plus a number of international customer satellites together. Primarily what I want to impress upon is this activity is not about any record. It's primarily with the objective of maximizing our returns. We have a launch vehicle and we have a satellite which we need to put into orbit, and invariably the different satellites come with different weights, different sizes, and we are trying to make use of the remaining capability available in the launch vehicle to put as many satellites from others and maximize our returns. So it's not whether we are crossing somebody else what they have put or what we have put as a record. It's primarily about improving our capability to maximize our returns. Let me ask Jay Kumar, the project director of this program, to brief us on the performance of this launch vehicle.
Good morning. Today we had the launch of ISRO C-37 Andhra series mission, which is the 39th PSLA mission, and we accept the first launch. All other 38 have been a continuous success, and today we employed a high-end variant of PSLA that we call as PSLA XL vehicle for this mission. Of course, we carried 104 satellites, and as it was pointed out, we are used to utilize the payload capability optimally. So that was the reason, even though it was a very complex mission, we went ahead with the mission, and of course during that mission period we had a lot of issues to be addressed, and it has given us, all of us, a very good learning field. In fact, a lot of things have been learned, and I am sure we can extend this for the future missions also with the type of performances. And another thing is, today's launch also, as usual, PSLA performed exceedingly well. It is off by only 1 kilometer in the apogee PG against the 4.7 is the design orbit. It has performed up to 4.6 and 7.4 kilometers. That is the accuracy, the precision it has got, and the inclination is also on board. And in this mission, apart from our comparatively heavier satellite, Cartosat 2 series, we carried 2 nano satellites from ISRO as well as 101 nano satellites from foreign customers. And I am sure we have lived up to their expectations on providing the launch services, and we got excellent feedback from them that whatever they wanted we could provide, and the orbit also very good orbit we provided, and all the separation events of the stages as well as the satellites have been video image has been captured, and that also just come out very nicely, and it's a very good learning experience they have given to us. And with this launch, I am very proud to say PSLA has so far launched 226 satellites, out of which 179 are from various different foreign nations. 180 satellites, and these are from different foreign nations. And let me take this opportunity to comment. Another point I would like to make, because when we take up this type of complex missions, the support given by the management is very important. Because unless they accept these proposals, we cannot do it. And at this moment, let me acknowledge that also, and let me take this opportunity to compliment each and every one of you who has been part of us in accomplishing this mission with a high amount of success. Thank you.
Okay, maybe we can take any questions.
Sir,
Okay.
to make by congratulating the ISRO fraternity for bringing laureates to our country. But Mr. Kumar actually said that it is not about setting records. Well, fine, point taken. But looking at it through the prism of economics, what kind of message have you communicated to the international community in the space launch market? Have you set an end by the benchmark for other nations? Your response?
Yeah, see, one of the things is at any given point of time, there is a demand and there is also capability to service that demand. Today, if you look at PSLV as a launch vehicle, in general, the number of launch vehicles available across the globe, number of companies and number of agencies which can provide launches is already limited. But then, today more and more small satellites are getting built, realized, and these small satellites on their own they cannot get the service of a full launch vehicle. So many times they have to wait for other major or larger component satellites to be available and they have to sort of hitchhike with them. Many times it is an orbit which can be different from what they want, and this is one of the problem areas with these small satellite people who are now coming up with bigger and bigger solutions are facing. So in that context, when we are trying to put more frequent launches from PSLV and with each launch having some capability to service this small satellite market, PSLV is ideally placed today, and this particular example of putting a large number of satellites in a short time, meeting their time expectations, gives a big, you can say, a notice to the world.
May I request the media persons to first introduce themselves and directly come to the question.
I'm Subramanian from Printline. Next one, GSS Mark II will put a South-Asian satellite, normally called South Satellite in orbit. What are the payloads it will carry, and what are the countries which will be the payloads, like Pakistan or say Sri Lanka and other South nations give payloads, and what are the payloads?
Yeah, it's based
communication or emergency or any other payload?
No, it's basically a communication satellite. Communication satellite carrying about 12 Ku-band transponders, and the idea here is to provide capability to each of the participating Southeast Asian nations, where they will be given an opportunity to make use of these transponders for a number of activities, whether it is tele-education, telemedicine, disaster, or even simple DTH service. And it will also like it could be even hotlines for the various the governments to work together, then library networking, disaster networking, and beyond that communication applications itself, what each of these countries wants to do. These opportunities will be there in the whatever we are going to launch sometime end of next year.
Sir, among these 104 satellites, more than 93 satellites are from USA. They are having great upper stations like NASA, but why they are approaching us to launch such nano satellites from here in our ISRO, sir?
Yeah, that's what I was trying to explain. See, the heavier launch vehicles, what they are there, now they are carrying some of the satellites, heavy satellites, and now what orbits they are planning for that, and when that goes into the orbit, at that time, if these small satellites, the agency is ready to accept it and put it along with that, they can fly. It is not that they cannot fly. But like what we are telling is, we are providing PSLV at a frequent launches. With each launch, we have some excess capacity available, and this excess capacity is being effectively utilized by the small satellite manufacturers, because they are now coming up with ideas like one company wants to have a 200 satellite constellation, another 400, and they are even talking of 1400 satellite constellation. So one of the things is, in the launch market there is a definitely shortage, and by being little more proactive and trying to provide this opportunity, PSLV is trying to capture a particular segment of this market. So it is a timely availability of a capability which can be utilized. So what we are trying to do is, we are trying to maximize our returns by taking in many of these small satellites which are available. Because when they have to make a constellation of 200 satellites, even they have to make them ready in short time. So in this particular case, about 88 satellites from one company, they have brought it together, so they have got a launch.
Can we expect such a launch in future, sir?
No, it's see how many of them will happen in future depends on how many such companies are ready with those many satellites. See, otherwise each time it's a combination of what kind of micro, mini satellites are being realized, and then again, see in PSLV you would have also seen we are now trying to make this launch vehicle put different satellites into different orbits also. That means we can carry in a single launch vehicle a satellite put into one orbit and then move over to another orbit. And so these are some special capabilities which actually attract the attention of these satellite makers to come to us. Sequence of separation. Okay. Maybe I'll ask Jay Kumar.
See, the constraint before us was there was a very, very limited duration only available from the ground stations. And we tied up on external ground station also this called record, apart from our regular ground stations on machines. And again, the requirement before us was to complete all the 104 satellites within the available time. And we have configured designed a unique separation sequence so that this all can be separation can be completed before we do go after the area has been configured. And initially, 3 satellites were deployed sequentially. Then we went ahead with the parallel simultaneous release of in pairs. Around 80 satellites have been released and again we gone back to sequential release so that we could complete the.
No, actually what happens is after we release our main satellite, each of these 4 satellites 80, they are in what is called a quad pack. 4 of them are in one package. That package gets released from the launch vehicle, and this package in turn opens its doors and releases one by one. So as far as the launch vehicle is concerned, 25 quad packs and our other satellites, they are released in a time sequence manner. So a command is given, with that command that particular satellite or a quad pack gets ejected from the launch vehicle.
Sorry. Yeah, this is Mayuresh from Maharashtra Times, Pune. There is mention in this year's budget about Venus mission, then space docking experiment and Mount 2. Can you just tell more about that and what is that allocation for?
Yeah, see, today we are working on as per approved program. And we are looking at what should be our future missions, Mars repeat or Venus or even an asteroid. So there are study teams which have been set up. They are going through this. So we have to come to the final conclusion when we will actually initiate the Mars 2 as well as the Venus missions. And towards that, the government has identified some budget so that we could initiate the activities on that. We have to actually come up with the exact project proposals and take it through. Right now, what we have done is study teams are going through that, and we have committees which have to review that and accept the basic proposals, what this mission will be and what it will be capable of achieving and what kind of instrumentation it will carry. All that has to be firmed up. But what we can definitely tell is now the government has given go ahead for planning those activities.
Why is the central government reluctant, or what are the reasons behind the delay in the central government giving approval to the human spaceflight mission? GSLV Mark 3 is coming up, and it is, say, successful 3 in a row, then it becomes a
Yeah, I think what we
man-made mission. So that China has overtaken us and it has put astronauts into space, and ESSA has made some progress in preparing for the human space mission. So will you pressure the center into giving you the permission, as it has been pending right from Mr. Manmohan Singh government?
No, what we need to appreciate is the government has its priorities. At this point of time, human space program is not a priority item, but then we need to continue our critical technology development. Towards that we are working, and now as and when both in terms of resource availability and prioritization matches, I am sure the central government, with all the you can say impetus given by general public and press like you, at some point of time they will surely decide that India should go ahead for such an activity.
Can we have some questions from the international media also, please?
Hi. How does your price for commercial launches compare to SpaceX? And where are you on reusable rockets?
I think as you can easily visualize, commercial information is not easy to give. So probably we will have to leave it to our Antriksh to look at that. But in general, what we can say is, if somebody is seeking you, probably you are more, you can say, cost competitive than others.
Rockets? The reusable rockets?
Which one?
Reusable.
Okay, with respect to reusable rockets, of course, we have a number of activities which are being lined up. As you are aware, last year we did just one mission on both air breathing and also on the reusable launch vehicle technology demonstrator, where we landed virtual landing on the water. So we have initiated certain steps, and we are also looking at other means of reducing the cost of access to space. We still have a long way to go, but along with our priority missions which we necessarily need to complete so that we provide the capability needed for the country, we also are looking at how we can improve the cost of access to space, and in this direction work is in progress. We still are quite some distance away from coming up with operational reusable launch vehicle systems.
Sir, while announcing that, informed that Chandrayaan will be explored by the end of this year. So, at present, what is the stage, sir? When can we expect the Chandrayaan to launch, sir?
Yeah, we are targeting latest by first quarter of 2018. Work is in progress towards making the satellite ready by this year end, so that between the December to March we will have the launch actually taking place. So we are working towards that. So depending on some of the developments, this will happen not later than first quarter of next year.
Chandrayaan 2, sir. With respect to Chandrayaan and Chandrayaan 2, what are the difference that we can expect, sir?
Okay, maybe I'll ask Annadurai to tell us about Chandrayaan 2. What are the differences?
Thank you, sir. Thank you for that. Thank you. Regarding Chandrayaan 2, basically we got here graduation from Module 2. In Chandrayaan 1, we had predominantly an orbiter going around the moon only. We have only a small moon impact probe. So we came out of the Chandrayaan Mudra and hit on the impact on the moon. But whereas here Chandrayaan 2, we will have a similar way orbiter. Previous mission, we launched that, and it takes all the way to the moon. And there, from the orbiter, another lander will separate, not moon impact probe lander. This lander will go down gradually and land softly on the moon. Having landed on the moon softly, it will take out a 6-wheel rover out of the lander. A 6-wheel rover and will do an in-situ analysis. Chandrayaan is predominantly remote sensing. The Chandrayaan 2 will be an in-situ analysis in the surface. For that, we will have instruments both in the rover as well as in the lander. So this is technologically demonstrated you can land on the correct place, correct place on the moon softly. And ensure that the lunar rover, first time planet rover, will be moving around the place I am doing each to analysis there. So technologically, as well as science point of view, it's an undergraduation to Chandrayaan 2.
So, what was the biggest challenge that you saw?
Can you please introduce yourself?
In this mission,
Ishra from Dharsana.
in this mission,
Yes, in this mission. What was the biggest challenge?
no, the really biggest challenge was to make the launch in the time frame demanded by the customer, and then making sure that we have our primary satellite also, like already it was pointed out, that we had to fast track some of the activities what we are doing, so that within the time frame that the customer is looking for a launch to take place, so make it. And then other than that is, you have to also visualize that other than the main satellite, you have 25 other small systems to be accommodated, and then all of them have to be released in such a manner that they don't enter into any collision, not only now, but also over the coming period. So you have to make sure that lot of mission analysis, actually Shivan was explaining about the mission analysis, you can ask him to say a few words on that.
The criticality about the mission is when you are separating one satellite, you have to ensure that the separating body and separated body should not collide. If you are talking about the two satellite separation, then what happens is there is a combination of three combinations will be there. When you are taking 104 satellites and totally about 5,460 combinations of two will be there. Now, no two satellites should collide. So it has seen that our mission design should be such that out of this all 5,460 combinations should be safer. This is a challenging task. So we have on our hand, the time of separation of the satellite, the orientation of the satellite separation, direction. We are designed such that this 5,460 combinations of the satellites combination, they are not entangling each other at any time. Not only now, even future also. That is a real challenge in designing the sequence and orientation of the vehicles and that is a major task.
So, how many intervals are there? Indian Express, Tirupati, how many intervals are there between one satellite to another satellite, or one group of satellites to another set of group of satellites, please?
4 seconds to 12 seconds. It is between 4 seconds to 12 seconds. Different numbers are there, depending on the orientation, depending on the direction of release.
How many intervals, sir?
No, total number of intervals, if you take 25 separate, 25 plus 3, 28 separations. So 28 intervals will be there.
Excuse me, sir. So with so many missions taking place this frequently, compared to the past, there are so many missions taking place this frequently. Can you throw some light on some of the quality control checks or what is carried out by ISRO to make sure that with every mission there's that standard and quality that is maintained?
Yeah, the successful completion of the mission actually speaks for what has happened. But your point is extremely correct that with each successful launch, the responsibility becomes that much more, because we cannot afford any, you can say, anomaly coming up in the next launch. So the entire team of people who are actually looking at quality control and quality assurance, not only that, all the people who work, they have to make sure that their part of the job is carefully done. And we also give emphasis on zero defect delivery. That means subsystems which are realized come with zero defects. So it's a continuous process and it's a challenging job. And with each success, the responsibility becomes that much higher. So we have to be all the time on the lookout for any problems. Okay.
Our job is over with already we have injected foreign satellite.
As far as this particular mission is concerned, just now we got a confirmation that 77 of these satellites have started communicating with the ground, and then remaining things also they will tell us. So basically, as far as our satellites are concerned, the first one we have already started is track. Then the remaining two, INS 1 and 2, we are expecting in another 15-20 minutes the update on this. And all the customer satellites, one by one, they are informing us. And as soon as we get the entire information, we will put it on our web to show that the task of this particular launch has been successfully completed. Primarily with respect to the contract itself, the job is done because we have successfully deployed all the 104 satellites into orbit.
Sir, my name is Satya. I am from Hyderabad, PE9. My question is, how many launch orders right now at hand at ISRO right now, and what is the global competitive position ISRO has having it now?
Okay, maybe I'll ask Rakesh to say a few words on this.
Currently, we have orders worth around 400 crores, and we are also in discussion with many agencies for an order about 500 to 600 crores. That is the current scenario.
And what is the global competitive position ISRO has? Number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1?
No, there is no such rating as far as the launch market is concerned. But then this is a big announcement that ISRO has made. The launching of this 104 satellites in itself is a big commercial boost for Antrix to go ahead with its marketing drive and then probably grab more orders in the future. And firmly placing PSNV also in a pedestal of its own in the global launch market, which is estimated to be about $6 billion.
Yeah. Last question.
Cover half of the cost of the PSLV launch from its foreign customers. So the kind of profit that you are accruing, how do you plan to lose it in the long run, and how will it benefit you, and how do you plan to regenerate this profit?
Yeah, with respect to see, our primary objective is developing the capacity to meet country's demand, and in the process use all the excess capacity for earning some revenue. That's how we have been doing all along, whether it is launch vehicle or whether it is remote sensing data. In many areas, that's how we are doing. So we will continue to derive as much revenue as possible from our excess capacities, and unless we reach a stage where we are able to build a large number of launch vehicles and then launch them, that's where we are looking at increasing our capacity to 12 to 18 launches a year. That is when we can really make use of the commercial opportunity available. Otherwise, in the range of 6 to 8, we still have to meet our own demands. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks to you all the print and electronic media. I thank wholeheartedly for being with us and participating in this launch campaign as well as in the press meet. Thanks to you all once again.